Meet The Lot, native token of Lukki Exchange and the most potential tool for investing this year. Trade now on P2B, B2B and Lukki.io.
I'm just going to introduce you to each one of our panelists. Toufi Saliba will be coming out shortly. Toufi is the author of the Toda IP protocol. He is a serial technopreneur. He's built 15 startups, failed at 11, and succeeded at 3. Some of them have ended up at Google, HP, and his last AI startup became an Intel company, not yet an exit. Toufi served as the global chair for the Association for Computing Machinery. He is also an invited speaker at the WIC, the UN, the ITU, AI for Good, the Korean Banking Institute, the Korean Institute of Finance, a board member and advisor to several tech ventures, international national organizations such as the Financial Services Roundtable and the Banking Policy Institute. Please join me in welcoming Toufi Saliba. Next, Chantel Costa is coming from the sphere of academia. Chantel's interest in disruptive technology was spurred in her master's thesis, writing on the use of emerging technology in international warfare and international humanitarian law. Upon completing her graduate studies, she found herself in her first tech startup in San Francisco using AI technology before joining Toda Network as the global collaboration specialist, and also on DIA as the director of development. Please join me in welcoming Chantel. Dr. Ben Goertzel needs no introduction, but I have the great privilege of introducing him, as he's the CEO of the decentralized AI network SingularityNet, the blockchain-based AI platform company, and was before that the chief scientist of Hanson Robotics, where for several years he led the team developing the AI software for the Sophia robot. Dr. Goertzel also serves as chairman of the Artificial General Intelligence Society, the Open Cog Foundation, the Decentralized AI Alliance, and the futurist nonprofit Humanity Plus. Dr. Goertzel is one of the world's foremost experts in artificial general intelligence, a subfield of AI oriented toward creating thinking machines with the general cognitive capability of the human level and beyond. He has also decades of expertise applying AI to practical problems in areas ranging from natural language processing and data mining to robotics, video gaming, national security, and bioinformatics. He has published 20 scientific books and more than 140 scientific research papers, and is the main architect and designer of the OpenCog system and associated design for human-level general intelligence. Please welcome Dr. Ben Goertzel. We did coordinate our entry songs, and they all follow this really interesting theme. I'm quite excited about that. So our panel today is really based on understanding the future of what it looks like when more AI services are placed on the blockchain, and once these services begin to interact with each other and influence each other's intelligence. How can this create a dramatic increase in the types of AI services available, and also the applications, and also how that enhances the general intelligence and the creativity of the AIs themselves. So I want to get started putting this into context a little bit. Ben, why is this? I think it comes back to not just distributed networks and distributed ledgers, but really looking at distributed control and governance of how these systems will operate in the future. And I think what this panel can really offer to you is to really deep insight into how they're beginning to orient their thinking toward making this a possibility. Start with that. That'll really set the context for what we mean when we're talking about decentralized governance and control.
Artificial intelligence is becoming big time now. We can all see that. It's rolling out in every area of industry, government, education, every area of our lives. And this is not about AI systems that are sitting in a box somewhere doing their thinking independent of the rest of the world. AI systems are interwoven with data about all of us and with the actions that we take in all of our lives. And what this means is that who is controlling and guiding these AI systems becomes of critical importance. I mean, increasingly, whoever controls the AI, whoever owns the AI, controls and owns the world and the future of the world, human intelligence and the AI intelligences that are being created. So the choices are, either a few parties, a few large corporations and governments control the AI that increasingly controls the world, or everyone does, the whole vast mass of humanity who's contributing the data and using the products. And decentralized technologies, of which blockchain technologies are an example, these at least give an avenue via which you could have the whole vast mass of humanity controlling the AI that is building the future.
And so maybe tell us a little bit of the work that you're focusing on right now, and how that's bringing about the necessity for this distributed type of control.
Yeah, what I've been doing the last couple of years with the SingularityNet platform, I mean, we built a decentralized blockchain-based AI marketplace in which anyone can put an AI service online, which can then advertise what types of AI functions it can carry out, what data it can analyze, what questions it can answer. Anyone who needs an AI service can put a service request into this network, and then their service request can be found by any AIs that can do what you ask. So it's a network of AIs offering services to customers, which operates more like BitTorrent than like iTunes, for example. And the cool thing is, I mean, unlike the songs or movies you can download from BitTorrent, the AIs running in the SingularityNet network can outsource work to each other. They can ask each other questions. They can cooperate to solve problems. AIs in the net pioneer Marvin Minsky called a society of minds, a network of AIs which is owned and controlled by itself through democratic governance principles, and which can grow and accumulate more and more AIs into the network based on the value that it serves to external people and software programs. And this decentralized AI network has the potential to become the main fabric of AI on planet Earth. I mean, right now, most of the AI services used in industry and government are on things like Microsoft Azure, Amazon AWS, Google Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, Tencent Cloud. These are owned by a few large companies which operate closely together with government organizations. It doesn't have to be the case, right? I mean, computer processing power is all over. The data comes from all of us. The questions posed to the AIs come from all sorts of small businesses all over the place. So why not have the world's AI mind be distributed and decentralized with democratic governance among all the AIs participating in it? Right now, when you run your AI on Microsoft Azure, Google Cloud, or Alibaba Cloud, those large companies are doing the meta learning from all the different AIs there, and they're getting smarter than anyone. And right now, this is a reasonably large issue in that people's minds are being manipulated by large companies that are gathering data from all the AIs that they're hosting. But as today's narrow AI systems verge into tomorrow's AGI, artificial general intelligence systems, it's going to become a bigger issue because the narrow AIs of today are the baby version of the AGIs of tomorrow, and the fact that most of the AI on the planet is now oriented toward selling, killing, spying, and gambling on the markets. I mean, that means this is what's going to be on the mind of the first AGI, right? So we want the first AGI to come out of a participatory democratic system that gives full honor and acknowledgement and compute power to all the human activities in the long tail of humanity. And that's what we're doing with SingularityNet platform in partnership with Toufi's Toda network and a bunch of other interesting projects.
I love how you're inventing all these new types of possibilities, and I want to get a greater understanding. Toufi, maybe you could highlight a little bit about what's inadequate in current blockchain tech for this type of control and governance that Ben's talking about.
So one thing that not a lot of people pay attention to is what the intent and the raison d'etre of the blockchain that hasn't been realized yet, but that does not mean it's not coming. The intent of the technology is to reduce the friction tremendously from where it is today. And where is the friction today? is not in the actual processing of the machine that is sitting in a database inside a bank or whatnot. It's in having administrators who's making sure that the other administrators are doing their work correctly, then having a manager on those, then having an auditor, then having an audit on the auditor, then having the government to make sure that this is doing its job correctly. And all of that ends up adding a lot of friction. Now, if you're able to ensure that people's value is secured in a certain way and transmitted in a certain way, using technology alone, you eliminated all of that friction that sits in the middle. That is being done today, and we've only got to 0.2% global penetration in blockchain. So the current blockchain penetration, when you hear a lot of people telling you, hey, this is revolutionary or whatnot, the idea is revolutionary. The idea is yet to manifest itself, and when it does manifest itself, it gets to the remaining 99.8%. It's currently still at 0.2%. It's stuck in certain places or whatnot. Now, why am I telling you this? Because when it comes to AI, a lot of companies that they're centralized their way. So every single AI service on the planet today, they have to comply with the laws in Belgium and keeping certain data in Belgium as it's processing. And at the same time, they have to comply with certain other laws that it's in like South Africa or whatnot. By doing it that way, it's adding a lot of friction that by the time they run it, the processing is not the cost, it's that added layers and layers of things to make sure that they are compliant, as opposed to what we're building here. When we say decentralized AI, it's compliant by design, it's privacy by design, it's security by design. We will win, they will lose, and that's what we're launching to the planet. We're launching something that can go to each and every Homo sapien. We're giving it back to the people rather than taking it from the people by design. So it's not like, hey, we're gonna take it from you and then there's a service that's gonna provide you with certain privacy, you have to pay them, and there's another service gonna add this thing or whatnot. No, by design, we're giving everything that belongs to you, stays with you. And then you can elect certain elements that are extremely necessary, what goes out using cryptography. So blockchain is a subset of cryptography, and that's what we're inserting into AI, and that's how, at the end of the day, we will win that battle, because by reducing that friction by over 99%, we will get a lot more done with a lot less money in every single company.
Yeah, I love those consensual-based models. And Chantel, maybe I'll go to you for a minute. And in this type of a model, do you think democracy can be preserved? What Toufi's talking about, and if not, who should lead this new, idea of governance?
So that is like a tricky question, just because there are so many opinions on that. Some experts in the field, like Yuval Noah Harari, he argues that AI is going to erase democracy, that technology is tyranny, that it will further ensure that power goes to a small elite group of people. But in saying that, there is hope. He does also say perhaps data ownership should be regulated, and it's important to ensure that distributed data processes become more efficient than centralized data processes, because right now AI runs on the concept of a centralized database, and that's problematic. Why? Well, right now, who controls these centralized databases of information? Huge corporations, Microsoft, Facebook, Google. They are monopolizing all the talent in the AI industry, and they're hoarding these huge silos of data, and that is so important because you need such insane amounts of data to create the best machine learning models. So the question of, is there democracy in that system? Right now, there isn't, but there's hope. And I think this is where blockchain can actually come into the picture on two fronts. On the front that it can help decentralize the use of AI. So as I was saying, like, companies control all these data, all these data, huge silos, whereas a peer-to-peer network, that information is shared and more available and more accessible, so it becomes more widely accessible. And then even on the tech side, like technology to technology, I think blockchain can help AI in the sense that right now with AI, there's an explainability issue. You have the input, and then you have the output, and in the middle there's this black box of like, what happened? How did the AI machine learning process get to its end result? We don't know, we don't see it. All that decision-making process happens, and we have no idea how it happens. But on a blockchain, you can actually see there's like an audit trail, and you can resort back to how it happened. So it provides more transparency, and it fixes the trustworthy issues in AI. And to build more trust, that's a great way, in my opinion. But at the same time, blockchain isn't the end-all be-all. I just think it's a great start to ensuring blockchain is democratized, and by doing that, it decentralizes it, which is the right path. And then who should lead? Sorry, this is a little bit of a rant. That's also a very hard question. At the end of the day, the most valuable currency in the world is not monetary. It's not crypto, it's not dollars, it's information. The most valuable currency is data. So everyone is fighting for it, governments and big corporations. And a lot of these governments, once again, have these silos of information, and some of them who are leading the charge is US, UAE has some great initiatives for blockchain and AI, and even Israel. With Israel, you can almost call it like a surveillance state at this point. All the governments are doing this, by the way, but Israel is just a great example. I think Michael Foucault is probably rolling in his grave. But essentially, Israel had a whole mishap in 2017 because part of their cybersecurity is to monitor Facebook posts of Palestinians. And one morning, a Palestinian laborer actually posted a photograph of himself at the beginning of his workday in front of a bulldozer. And he wrote in Arabic, "Good morning," and unfortunately, Israeli AI security misinterpreted the Arabic word "good morning" for harm them, because they're quite similar in how they're written. So they immediately arrested him and later found out, oh, AI error. So right now, governments are kind of just using AI and like the idea of blockchain for surveillance and punitive measures, which isn't the greatest. Do we want governments to lead the way for AI and blockchain? I'm not sure, that's a little risky. But I do have an opinion on who shouldn't lead the way of AI and blockchain. Definitely not corporations. FANG, G-Mafia, whatever you want to call it. G-Mafia, Google, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, IBM, Apple, G-Mafia, new term. Those are who you don't want to lead the way. And what I recommend, or what I think is a great...
Can I jump in?
Go ahead.
So I think if are not going to lead, at the end of the day, if they have more money and they have more power, they will lead, and we will lose the battle. And if that ends up getting to the point where the future of humanity is enslaved, it's something that you wouldn't put your children into, that's what ends up happening. Everybody will look back and be like, oh my God, yeah, I remember that conference. Now we can't even think of a specific topic without getting arrested. That's where it's getting to. This is what now people are realizing, where we are going. It's going to get to a point where you currently, in the audience, you have one of the liberty that you don't appreciate, for example. The ability that each and every one of you can kill yourself. That is a choice you can make. That may not necessarily be a choice you can make 10 years from now. Imagine somebody taking that away from you. What else can they be taking away from you in next generations? That's what now people are realizing where we could be heading. We could be heading towards a future where we wouldn't put our children into, but we are putting our children into that future if we don't do anything about it. So how do we win that battle? We don't just like sit back and say, oh, we don't want them to do that, and we just sit back home and cry. No, we don't do that. You know what we do? We introduce the crypto into AI. We bring the blockchain into AI, and with that, yeah, please, give me an applause. I deserve it.
Toufi for president.
But what we do, we introduce a process, call it blockchain, let them watch it, that it costs about 100,000 times more than regular databases, and let them get busy with that. That's what they're doing today. That's what they think blockchain is. But in reality, what we're doing, we're actually introducing a decentralized AI that is going to cost 99.9% cheaper than their current AI, and with that less cost, we will win the battle and they will lose that war.
Yeah, this is a key point, and I think that ties in with something she was saying, which is, you know, we need the decentralized AI to be, you know, cheaper and better than the centralized AI. And there are many challenges there, but there's also some fundamentals that will allow this to happen. I mean, one of the challenges is, on a purely computer science basis, there are many ways in which a centralized system, it's easier to make efficient than a decentralized system. On the other hand, projects like Toufi's Toda network are overcoming that by making at least more and more efficient decentralized fabrics, although it may not get as efficient in every case as a centralized system. But we need that difference to come down. But then the advantage that a decentralized system has is an advantage of greater creativity, greater passion, and greater diversity, which can overcome a moderate disadvantage in computer science efficiency, because a decentralized AI network can take AI contributions from AI developers in Ethiopia, in Afghanistan, in anywhere on the planet, not only people who work in tech hubs for large corporations. And a decentralized AI network can take weird creative ideas that people just put out there without filtering it through the question of, does it increase shareholder value for a large corporation? So given the greater ability to take diverse inputs, serve diverse needs, and then foster creativity by the cross-pollination and interaction of diverse AIs created by all these different people for all these different purposes. I mean, this can make the decentralized AI network much smarter, because it's not an autistic AI mind concerned only with maximizing shareholder value for a few corporations, or maximizing tribal sovereignty by a few large governments. It's much more diverse in its objectives. It's an open-ended intelligence rather than a closed-minded intelligence focused on simplistic objective functions. So we do need to reduce the friction of current blockchain implementations, which are just unnecessarily and ridiculously inefficient, and Toufi and his Toda team are working on that, which is very exciting. And then we need to make decentralized AI easy enough to use, that it can really leverage the massive creativity of the world's population, which will then overwhelm just with the coolness and breadth of utility of its offerings what big companies are doing. I mean, that's what we're all working on up here with Singularity Net Platform, with Toda Network, with the many Toda enterprises.
Which is a full disclosure, by the way. We do have lots of babies together.
Yeah.
So Ben and I, we announced something called Decentralized AI Alliance. It's a foundation announced a year and 3 months ago. We're not advertising anything that we could make money. We've been spending a lot of money into this. We just spend money and give it to the world. 53 organizations that they've joined the Decentralized AI Alliance as of now, and is growing via that foundation. Most recently, we've made another baby together. That baby's name is Todalarity, which is that marketplace that empower each and every one of you. If you're running an AI engine, or whether you're running, cryptocurrency, you're running an exchange, whatever what you're running, you're going to be facing the 800-pound gorilla. You're going to be facing the elephants. How can you go and battle them? How can you have a team that's going to battle Google? So what is being provided with Todalarity here is the ability to have 100 AI teams working independently, but yet available to any single app in the world that you just plug into a single place. It's called that Todalarity, and you get 100 different teams with their brains, and we call it like the hybrid intelligence, just between AI and... So I'm not here to, anyway, I'm talking about things that they are so altruistic or whatnot, so I'm not really advertising about anything. I don't like to advertise about anything, and Chantel is my witness.
Yeah, but so there's a lot of pieces. We're trying to build a whole ecosystem here, right? We have SingularityNet, a decentralized AI platform. I have my OpenCog AGI project, which we're running in SingularityNet. We have the TOTA network and protocol, which we're using to make SingularityNet more efficient, along with the tools for some of the other projects. The Decentralized AI Alliance, where we've pulled together, I guess, around 55 AI meets blockchain projects. Singularity Studio, which is an enterprise AI company serving PICC, Domino's, a bunch of other big companies with AI backending on SingularityNet. Totalarity, which is a product accelerator that we formed together to help startup companies, make their products use SingularityNet and Tota network better. But we need a bigger and bigger ecosystem, right? The 55 projects in the DIA aren't enough. We need a decentralized network of decentralized networks, which is a whole parallel technology ecosystem built on principles of security, privacy, democratic governance, and decentralized ownership. And we're building that. There's a lot of work ahead, but we have exponential growth on our side.
It's amazing. And I think, we're dealing with a fairly libertarian, tech futuristic audience, I suspect, but maybe, to bring this back, where are we today? You're talking about, you're developing these networks, like, how?
Well, today, this year, we're rolling shit out, which is cool, right? SingularityNet Beta was rolled out in February, and we're rolling out the Beta 2 in the next couple weeks. I guess Tota is moving into a beta now. Also, Ocean Protocol has launched something, which is a decentralized big data storage and AI platform. So what we're seeing this year is some serious decentralized AI projects and platforms actually become usable and becomes things you can build on and use for commercial or beneficial projects, right? And so that's real progress. We're not just talking, we're rolling out real code now.
And where are we when it comes to understanding the inflection point of how we orient ourselves from moving beyond a narrow AI to an artificial general intelligence?
Well, we just saw Microsoft invested $1 billion US in OpenAI for their AGI research, and the head of OpenAI says he thinks they're 5 years or so away from human-level general intelligence, deep neural networks. Now, I don't think that approach will work, but I think that optimism, it symbolizes a growing feeling within the AI community that we're picking up speed, and it's not going to be just deep neural nets. Maybe it's deep neural nets combined with OpenCog's logic engine, combined with evolutionary learning, combined with some AI algorithm some 16-year-old will invent tomorrow. But what we're looking at in SingularityNet is making a way many different AIs can network and collaborate together so that we can thus accelerate the path to AGI with that synergy. So we definitely need a breakthrough, or maybe many breakthroughs, to get from where we are now to human-level AGI. But I would say there's an increasing percentage of the AI field that feels like that breakthrough is, 3 to 10 years away instead of decades away, and that certainly accentuates the urgency of making a decentralized platform to be the medium for this AGI to live and grow in.
Just adding to that point, so Microsoft, $1 billion investment in OpenAI. To put things in perspective to when we were talking about, the big elephant in the room or the 800-pound gorilla, with this totality that we only raised 10 million. So 10 million, when you compare 10 million to the 1 billion, that's 100 times more. So in the eyes of the Martians, or anybody who's looking at it, 1 billion versus 10 million, of course they're going to win, of course. But let's put the clock and fast forward 3 years from now, 4 years, and look back and see who's going to win. We're not here to enable just ourselves to win. They may got the guns, but we got the numbers. I don't know where you get that from, the doors. We're here to enable 100 brains, 100 different companies to link to a marketplace and enable every single company on the planet. So imagine in the future, just bear with me here for a second with that imagination, because that could be a reality soon. So in 10 years from now, your smartphone is a pill you take on Friday, okay? So let's say that that's what the smartphone is. Now, if by then AI is integrated into the smartphone, which it is today, and it's controlled by a certain company, could be in China, that is in a war with another company in Silicon Valley, that is also in that phone, and there's another company in Brazil and all that, and there's that war between them. Who is going to take control? Because that's what they all care about. Meanwhile, you hear about this other pill that is built by one of those 100 companies, that is designed with security as part of each and every element, that cannot be manipulated by any single entity. And you know that cryptography is gonna get anybody to manipulate that Homo sapien. Which pill would you take? It's a rhetorical question. I know which one you're going to take. Which pill would you give your children? It's also a rhetorical question. And that's what I mean by how we are gonna win that battle. They don't realize it, that having that centralized control over AI is gonna like bite them in the ass. But we do realize that, and we'd like to watch it happen.
So how do companies retain a competitive advantage in their current business models today, going forward? We've got 1.5 minutes left.
Creativity is the key, right? I mean, things are changing constantly, so whatever concrete answer we give now will be obsolete a year from now. But I mean, we're creating decentralized AI marketplaces, platforms, protocols, and tools, and certainly part of being creative now is plunging into this world as rapidly as you can, looking at things like SingularityNet, Soda, and the products of the other DIA companies, looking at these as tools you can use and as channels you can use to disseminate your own software, but then also inventing new things along the same lines and new lines that don't exist yet, right?
What I would add to that is we're raising awareness between people, and those people, they're amazing people. They currently work for shitty governments, they work for shitty companies, and they are realizing internally that no, we are not going to do that. They are saying from within that no, this is not the future we're going to build for our children. And those people, they're still in the closet. We call it the crypto closet.
And just to kind of say a last word about that is just, I think both Toufi, Ben, and I have all touched upon this. At the end of the day, who should be leading the charge of blockchain and AI? SingularityNet, Toda Network, DIA, Totalarity. These ecosystems use decentralized AI to ensure democratic use of it. And with all these partners in these ecosystems working together, sharing information, they can rival against these big corporations and governments.
Wow. These are your pioneers. Please give me a lot of help in giving them a round warm of applause in appreciation for their